Good morning, everyone. James Hicks here, Hicks New Media and Infotainment News. Today we have another fantastic episode. We've got a brilliant young man sitting behind the curtain right now, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. We're going to talk to this guy about his some incredible achievements that he's had already in his young life. We'll talk about him reaching the achievement of Eagle Scout, right? And the lessons that he learned in the pursuit of that very prestigious rank. We'll talk a little bit about his being a recent graduate from college, and what challenges he's seen, not just doing this COVID lockdown, but just really in general of finding a job in the career field that aligns with his degree. So I'm looking forward to that bit of discussion as well. And then I kind of prodded him in behind the scenes and say, but I'll try to see if I can get some unclassified information from him as we talk a little bit about his time and his work with Disney. We'll keep it so that he doesn't get in trouble, but we're going to ask him some things about the mice and the ducks and all that good stuff out there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Ben Bergo. Ben, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. See, again, we're just gonna talk a little bit about it. We're not gonna go into detail about that particular topic because we still want you to get a paycheck when you guys finally do open up, right? So we'll talk about that. But give us a little bit of just the history. Give us the elevator pitch of who is Ben Bergo.
All right. Well, I'm Benjamin Bergo. I'm a recent graduate from Cal State Fullerton. I have a degree in business administration with a focus on marketing. I'm an Eagle Scout, and I've been employed by the Walt Disney Company for the last 5 years.
Wow, 5 years. So awesome. Eagle Scout is that's at the top of the resume, though, right? Irregardless
Absolutely.
of what anyone else does, there is a small fraternity of folks that actually get to that rank. So kudos and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
My son is first class. He's working on getting there. Kind of told you, 16 and trying to use the rationale of lockdown and COVID and all that for not pursuing or not being completely active in some activities. Talk to us a little bit about what you went through in terms of either your project, your Eagle project, or just some activities to help you get to and past that particular point.
Yeah. So for me, at least, getting up to first class was obviously the easy part. That's kind of where it becomes less about the skills that you've learned, and it becomes more about leadership and your involvement with your troop, your involvement with the community. Mm-hmm. That's why the last few ranks, Star, Life, and Eagle, are called the Trail to Eagle in comparison to, making it up to first class. Those last three ranks, like I said, are really heavily focused on giving back to the community, giving back to your troop. The big issues that I encountered was, in the beginning, it was really hard for me to be motivated. My group in particular, the troop that I started out with, that I finished with, this was a group of over 100 boys at one point.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a lot of people. It was a lot of logistics going on. And the group that I was with in particular, they were constantly moving. They were constantly going. And a lot of the times I felt a little discouraged because I felt it was difficult to keep up with them. Some of these kids that I basically, grew up with, I went through puberty with at the time, they got their Eagle Scout at the age of like 15, 16.
Okay.
And they spent, 3 years in Scouts, the absolute minimum to get their Eagle Scout. And for me, watching, my friends power through this and watch them be insanely motivated for it, in the beginning, it was almost like a discouragement. And then as I grew up, as I got older, as I started to, understand that my friends' accomplishments around me didn't devalue my own, it became more as a motivation for me to, hey, you know what? This is completely possible. I can absolutely do this. There's no reason whatsoever that I can't do it.
Yeah.
So for me, that was the biggest stumbling point. It took me a little bit to get it in gear, but once I did get it in gear, I was all in. I was 100% dedicated to it. And I like to think that the results turned out pretty good.
Wow.
The other big point that I kind of stumbled on was the Eagle Scout project. Now, I know you know what an Eagle Scout project is, but if anybody doesn't know, it's a project designed to give back to your community. It's designed to show that you as a leader, as a Boy Scout, are capable of interacting with your community and giving back to it in the same way that it gave back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So my troop in particular was really particular about how they wanted Eagle projects done. They had very high standards for it, which, you know, is a great thing, I think.
Exactly.
I stumbled a few times on getting a project idea laid out with all the logistics and whatnot, but I finally got the project approved and everything was going great. And what I ended up doing was I ended up creating signposts for the Yorba Regional Park, which is pretty much right across the street from my house.
Okay.
And it's almost like a daily reminder to me. Like, I can physically see what I gave back to the community. And I think that's kind of something that a lot of Eagle Scouts don't always get. You know what I mean? I walk across the street and I can physically see what my contribution was.
Right.
And that for me means a lot.
Yeah, that shows you put in the effort. You made something relevant for your home community. So that's amazing. I want to ask you something though, and you touched on it, and this just always intrigued me about scouts that, as you say, power through their ranks, right? Get it done in a minimal amount of time. I almost think that's a disservice to them, right? Because the whole some of the main aspects of scouting, right, is just being able to get out there with your troop, go camping, go experience all of those activities, learning skills, management skills, organization, all of that. And if you're just going from one to one to one and as quickly as you possibly can get to that eagle, you've got till you're 18, right? I mean, enjoy the journey. It just doesn't seem to me like, and maybe they are, it just doesn't seem to me like they're really enjoying that journey of being a scout. Unless after they get that eagle, they still remain active within the troop and whatever their council is. What are your thoughts on that?
Obviously, I can't speak for other people's experiences, and I wouldn't want to. My experience is entirely my own. But personally speaking, I think that by staying until I was 18, staying for the full amount of time possible, I think I got more out of it. Awesome. And, you know, obviously, people do Boy Scouts for different reasons, right? A lot of people do it because, oh, my parents said this will look great on my resume. And they're absolutely correct, right?
Yeah.
I joined Boy Scouts, and I was a Cub Scout even, because I loved camping.
Nice.
I absolutely loved camping.
Nice.
And, you know, a lot of my experiences revolved around that. I don't necessarily think that spending less time means you get less out of it. But I certainly think Boy Scouts and scouting in general is more about the journey than it is about the destination.
I like that. That's a good point, and that hopefully youngsters that are in Cub or Boy Scouts right now listening to this will hear that, and that'll resonate, because it is about that overall journey. Let's talk a little bit about school. So, recent college graduate, congratulations on that as well. You're just racking up all the accolades, man. I mean, Eagle Scout, college grad. It's a tough time right now, though, right? I mean, let's be honest. Let's be realistic, right? It's a tough time trying to find employment, yet alone employment in a particular field of industry that you have studied for an extended period of time. Talk to us a little bit about, again, what you got your degree in and what it's like during this COVID lockdown season of 2020, trying to locate a career start for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned, I have a degree in business administration with a concentration in marketing. Now, for me, marketing has always kind of been, you know, loosely defined, for me at least, was always getting other people to have the same views as you with regards to a certain product or service. You know, I've always thought about it as less about selling something and more about convincing people to believe in the same things you believe in. And that's always kind of really appealed to me. That's why I went into marketing. That's why I got my degree. And, coming straight out of college, I knew things were going to be tough even before COVID. I knew that there are a lot of people who are good at, speaking. There are a lot of people who are good at persuasion. And there's a lot of people with a lot more experience than me who are looking to get into marketing and things like that. So right off the bat, I knew it was going to be a challenge. Obviously, I was relying heavily on my Eagle Scout and my previous work experience to diversify me. And then coming straight out of my kind of the last point of no return for college, I was turning in my final projects. Everything was great. This was probably early March.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I've done it. I just got to pass my finals. Life is good, right? I've already started looking for employment. I've already heard back from a couple of recruiters. I've got interviews scheduled. Things are going great. And then, COVID-19 hits, right?
Then the world stops.
The world completely stopped, right?
Yeah.
Right where it was standing.
Oh.
And everything that I had lined up stopped. Everything that I had lined up canceled, right? And it instantly became a challenge to gain the attention of recruiters and things like that. And, the challenge became much more, the hill became steeper, I guess you could say. Yeah. And, obviously there's a lot that can be done in the meantime. I've been working with you, kind of diversify myself, kind of make a presence for myself out there. But the job climate in particular for me, marketers are honestly a dime a dozen, right? There's a lot of people who can do what we do. There's a lot of people without a degree that can do what we do, that have previous experience that can benefit them. And in particular, going for jobs at this time, what I've noticed was for a lot of the job positions, there's now a section where you can talk about, were you previously laid off from a similar position?
Oh, wow.
So now it's just not, new graduates looking for these entry-level positions. These are people who have been in their industries for, a number of years, who are just looking to put food on the table. And really, who can blame them, right?
True. So, I mean, that's tough, right? Because when you've got, I'll call them seasoned professionals who have already been out there and they may have become a victim of the lockdown. So now they're out there on the bench as well. But I guess I want to state and iterate as well that what you're doing while on the bench is very critical. You're creating some content. You're creating that digital presence, which we've kind of talked about in the past. Staying active and in the forefront in terms of what an organization that you're reaching out to would like to see. Right? You're not letting this particular time, this 5, 6, 7 months, however long it's going to be, define your long-term strategy. Right. So again, I think you said you've spun up a digital presence, you've spun up your website, and you're ready to provide and put out some more content. Hey, put this out there on your website too, brother. This is going to be good for you.
Absolutely.
But and then when you say marketing, is there a specific focus within marketing? Is it digital? Is it billboard? Is it what type of marketing aspects are you preferring to get into?
Without a doubt, digital.
Okay.
Digital for me, everyone's seen the TV show Mad Men, right?
Yes.
Most people at least have seen the TV show Mad Men. And, as we go forward, it's becoming increasingly digital. Paper mediums become less and less important. Obviously, they're always kind of going to be there. But as technology continues to advance and as, even my, my 70-year-old grandma has an online presence now, right? It's becoming increasingly important to kind of turn our attention more and more towards the digital. So I think going forward, that's going to be pretty much the main focus of marketers in general.
Yeah, that makes sense. And look, we can go ahead and put it out there. Yeah, everyone in your family probably has some bit of technology. Your dad has got everything that he needs and doesn't need probably in his closet. I know the man. he's well stocked in terms of the technology industry. So
Absolutely.
kudos and shout out to Mr. Bergo himself as well. Um, I like what you're doing, man. Again, I hope that a lot of college juniors, seniors, and graduates understand that, again, this bit of adversity that we're all going through in 2020 has been just it's been a crazy year, right? And
Absolutely.
it's just one obstacle after the other, and the strong folks, the strong-minded, strong-willed, strong constitution with a lot of foundation will prevail. I take that back to your Eagle Scout, right? Again, you've been kind of through the trenches in a lot of the activities that you've done over those 18 years to get to that point. So I have no doubt that as you continue to pursue your marketing career, your marketing activities. Now, again, you're not going to get the first job out the gate that is going to probably be that 20-year, 30-year role. Those really aren't. They're not there anymore, right? I've been with so
Yeah.
many companies over my period of time. I've walked out of the door. I've been kicked out of the door. Whatever the case may be, right? But just keep that in mind as well, right? It's about getting that foot in the door at maybe a smaller agency, or heck, maybe you'll get into the big agency and have a different role than the kind of one that you're looking for initially. Keep that open mind and keep that perspective in terms
Absolutely.
of where you go. So awesome. Well, let me ask you this, man. I and we'll skirt around it as much as you want to. You are employed now. You're doing a couple of things, right? You're not just sitting at home playing video games all day like my son.
Well, I
Uh,
mean,
only at night, right? After the house chores and after the yard has been cut and things like that, you're probably playing your Fortnite and your Call of Duty.
after my daily duties.
There you go. Talk a little bit about, again. Let's be on at a very high level. Tell us where you are working right now and some of the insights that us fans of your current employer would love to hear.
Absolutely. So, like I mentioned previously, I've been employed by the Walt Disney Company for the last 5 years. And coming right out of high school, I was already employed. I had a job at Stater Brothers, just basic level stuff, making
Yeah.
money, pocket money at the time. And my dad goes to me, "Hey, you know what? I know you already have a job. Things are looking good. You're just starting college. I know this is already kind of a time of transition for you, but I think you should apply at Disney. I think this is
So
going to
this
be
was Dad's idea.
yeah, this was my
All
dad's
right.
idea. Yeah, and he
Okay.
because my dad actually used to work at Disney, and he did a number of things over the years when he was employed there. Um, but he always told me that he met some of his best friends for life during his time there, right? And he
Awesome.
was always telling me about how great it was to work there and how great of an experience he had. Now, he hasn't worked there in, oh God, over 30 years, right?
Many moons. Yeah.
Oh, it's almost over 40 years now. Ooh. So he obviously didn't know what the climate was like, me just graduating out of high school, but he was still like, you know what, go apply for Disney, even if you don't accept the job, even if you don't get the job, I think it's something you should do. I think this could be something really good for you.
Nice.
And, I'm like, sure, okay, fine. I already had a well-paying job at the time. I didn't really think much of it. I wasn't a Disney fanboy or anything. We had gone as a family several times, but it wasn't something that was, a huge impact in my life like it is for a lot of Disney fans.
Right.
And so I applied for the job, and within like a day and a half, I got a call back and says, "Hey, so we saw you put in an application. Would you like to come in for an interview?" And I was like, "Oh, sure." Right?
Okay. Wow.
Like I had applied right at the beginning of summer, so this was a really big hiring time for them. And so I go in for an interview, and it's literally just like this conversation we're having right now.
Yeah.
It's just two people talking about our interests and what we think of our company and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so it's really not much of an interview, to be honest. It was just two people talking. And so at the end of it, they go, you seem like a really nice guy. You're really good at talking with people. You clearly have things that you're passionate about. We'd like to offer you employment. So I'm like, awesome. What kind of roles are we talking about? Because, I don't want to go from being a clerk at a grocery store to, doing something completely out of my ballpark.
Right. And there's a wide breadth of opportunities in the park, right? You can
a lot of different things.
Yeah.
A lot of different things. Little did I know that's exactly what they would suggest. They were like, hey, you're really good at talking to people. How would you feel about being an attractions host in Adventureland? Now, Adventureland consists of a few different attractions. Indiana Jones, Jungle Cruise, in addition to a couple other ones that are part of Main Street, like the vehicles as well as trains. So I'm like, okay, sure. You know what? I'm interested. This seems like a really cool place to work. And I say, you know what? Sure, I'd love to be an Adventureland host, right? And they go, awesome. You feel comfortable talking in front of people, right? And I was like, sure.
That's when the interview really started, right? For a while, they were just talking, hey, man, how you doing? Here, read this script. Okay.
Yeah, that's when it became about, okay, well, what am I actually going to be doing? And so they kind of left it at that. They're like, well, you seem really good at talking to people, so we have something in particular in mind with you. So the way that it worked at the time was you either accepted employment or you didn't.
Okay.
And then when you showed up for your orientation, they told you what role you were going to be put into, right? So I'm like, okay, Adventureland, I know what attractions are there. I'm probably going to be doing Indiana Jones or something like that. I'm going to be pushing a button. I'm going to be, taking care of safety-oriented things, right?
Right.
And so I show up on the first day of orientation. They give us our packet that says exactly what we're going to be doing. And I open it, and it says Jungle Cruise. And I'm like, wait, you mean Jungle Cruise? At the time, I was under the impression that they were, part of entertainment. They were, the people who trained to entertain the guests.
Yeah.
When I had accepted the attractions host position, I was okay, 100% safety oriented. I got this, piece of cake. And I show up and they tell me Jungle Cruise, and I'm instantly like, oh. So when you asked me if I'm good at talking to people, you meant am I good at talking to people?
Talking to people.
Yeah.
on a moving boat.
Day. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I already went this far. I've already left my other job. I'm going to stick with it. And that was kind of the beginning to, honestly, the best first year of employment I've ever had, right? They're not kidding when they tell you that it's all fun and games.
Okay.
Obviously, there's safety-oriented stuff, 100%.
Yeah.
But it's really, especially with the Jungle Cruise, it's all about having fun.
Yeah.
And, they give you this, they give you 4 days of training to become a Jungle Cruise skipper. So I don't know how many times you've been on the Jungle Cruise.
Many times, sir. Let me tell you something. That and Indiana Jones are my two rides. So
absolutely.
If you ask me what your script was, I might know half of it, but I don't know it to your degree. I love everything. I know where all the the snakes are and the hippos are. It's good stuff. Okay.
Yeah, and you look at the amount of variation that you can have. Think of all that information packed into 4 days, right?
Wow.
And obviously, a big portion of it is focused on safety, making sure our guests are safe, things like that.
Yeah.
And that whole training for me was just kind of really eye-opening. Like I said, I had never really been a Disney fanboy. I had never been someone who Disney was a huge part of their life. Obviously, it had been a big part of my parents' life and my dad's life in particular. But for me, it had never really struck to me the degree that this can impact people's lives. And after going through that training, after seeing how passionate a lot of my coworkers were, it kind of occurred to me like, wow, this is a really great place to be. I can't half-ass it.
Yeah, exactly.
This is something that you really need to care about to do.
Yeah,
and
you're a big deal.
Yeah, it's not something that you can just look at and decide, okay, sure, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
It requires, you to care. which was something that I hadn't previously experienced in my working experiences.
Well, look, if I'm gonna stand in line with my kids for an hour and a half to get on Jungle Cruise for what is it, 15 minutes or whatever?
Like 7.5, 8 minutes.
See that, man? You better be just smiles and laughing and giggling the whole time because again, you're a big deal. There
A
are
lot of
folks,
expectations.
right? And you think about something like that. We both live in California, but there are so many folks. Disney's global, worldwide. Folks travel from all over the world to go there, and if we take that for granted, then you lose that edge, right? Then you lose that excitement for that 6, 7, 8 minutes of every single time because you got to be on every single time, and and I'm saying that talking to you, I guess also doing a little coaching, right? About as you move forward into the other professional world, if you move into some marketing activities as well, the things that you and your dad do, I mean that me and your dad do every single day, we're not salespeople, but we are salespeople. Everyone's in sales, and I tell my wife I get on stage and I do the jazz hands. That's what I do. As you see me, I'm always talking with my hands here, but if you don't portray and show that enthusiasm, show that caring every single time you do it, you lose credibility, right? And you can't grab an audience. So if you've got 12 people sitting in that boat for 8 minutes, you got to be on it every single time that hippo is spraying water or that snake comes down and you got to shoot your gun and all that stuff. So kudos to you on that, but I'm glad you went down there, took the challenge to do the interview, and so you say you've been there for 5 years now.
Yeah, 5 years in July.
Awesome. And the park's closed right now, or have they opened back in Southern Cal?
In California, they're still closed. They've been closed since mid-March.
I figured that. Okay. But again, you're doing, I think, the right activities in this bit of a lull, right? By again building your portfolio of work in terms of building a site, building some content, having conversations with folks within your industry and things like that. And because of that, I guess I'll ask you next, what is next? Right? What do you see on a short term basis that you and Bergo will be doing from a professional perspective?
Yeah, right now I'm all about looking for positions and opportunities that allow me to further develop my toolbox, that will allow me to continue accumulating skills so that way, 10, 15 years down the line from now, I'm capable of being in a high-level marketing position, and I'm capable of, knowing everything that's going on in my organization.
Yeah.
I don't just want to be someone who's in a solitary position and I know what I do and that's it. I want to know everything that my role touches. I want to have experience in every single role that I impact. And it's, in particular right now, I'm looking for sales skills. I've been applying to a lot of SDR roles, sales development representative roles.
Yep.
In a lot of different places, and that's kind of what I'm looking at right now, because being a marketer, you're painting the bigger picture, and I think that if you know the logistic of what's going on with the sales organization, it becomes a lot easier for you to paint that picture and make it actually usable for that sales organization.
That's good.
So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay.
That's where I'm at right now, is just developing my skill base.
I must say, man, I love hearing the energy of the next generation. I love hearing you say kind of some of the things that you just said right now, because you're not stodgy, you're not stale, you're not comfortable, right? You're actually still hungry for that next big thing. You're not like some of us, old folks with all the salt in their beard who may be close to retirement or something like that. And I think that drive is going to continue to be something that resonates as you move forward in your not just professional career, but I'll say professional, personal as well.
I certainly hope so.
So Ben, I'm a technologist. Your dad's a technologist. He and I have been up to battle a number of times doing some different things with some different large organizations. So I got to ask you the technology question. What do you got, man? What's your go-to? I mean, are you a mobile phone guy? Are you an app guy? Are you PS? What is it? 3, 4? I don't know these things right now. But what is your go-to piece of technology that you've got to have with you or take advantage of it on a daily basis?
Without a doubt, the one I have on me the most, the one I utilize the most, is my phone. Right?
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff you can do on your phone nowadays, especially, that it used to be you have to have a desktop, right? Or you have to have a laptop to do these things. And, right now I can go on my phone, I can type up a whole, paragraph. I used to do homework on my phone whenever I didn't have my laptop with me, or whenever I wasn't, capable of going home and working on my desktop. And for me, obviously, that's the one I try to leverage the most. I have LinkedIn on there. I've got all my socials on there, email, all that typical stuff.
All right. Now I will ask though. So you got the AirPods, and I got to ask you though: are you? We could have a religious battle here. You Android, you iOS, man?
I used to be Android for ever, just because that's kind of what I first got, and that's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I have very much transitioned into the Apple, the iOS. Simply for the, simple convenience.
Yeah.
It used to be I loved all the features of Android, and I loved how customizable it was. But as I've gotten older and as I've become more, efficiency focused, I guess you could say, it's become more and more important for me to just have simple convenience. And I kind of think that's what Apple always capitalizes on.
This guy is 20-some years old, and he's talking about as I've gotten older. That's pretty good, brother. That's pretty good. I like that. I'm a member of the cult of Mac as well. I gave Steve Jobs 8 years of my life, and had a couple of run-ons, one-on-ones with him as well. So I like that. I know a co-host of one of my shows will probably disagree with that. He's an Android man through and through, but we'll get Tallboy on the right track soon enough. Ben, thank you, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate you opening up and expressing who the real Ben Bergo is, and not just that, but just what you're dealing with as you try to navigate this next phase of life, man. Right? You had an incredible journey growing up, getting through Scouts, getting the Eagle, doing your project, and the fact that you can literally on a daily basis see the fruit of that labor, right, out there with those signs across the street from you. That's a huge plus. That's a huge win. The fact that you graduated college and you've got that degree, you've got that piece of paper signed. My mom was always like, when you get that degree, make sure it's signed. Oh yeah, it's signed. But as you pursue those next steps in life, man, I think you got the right mindset and you've got the right support system around you to make sure that you do succeed. And if you falter, we all do. We learn from it, and then you move forward. Just don't get caught up into negativity. I think that's one thing that I would say to a lot of anyone. Right? Don't get caught up in. There's things going on that are bad. And it's this much. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, there's more positive going on in life than there is that's negative. We just amplify the negative because we do. We have these things, and we've got 100% all the time access to information. I'm proud of you, man. I know your folks are. It was great talking to you. You said you got a site. Give a quick shout out to the URL or any social media profiles that you got. I'll include them in the show notes anyway, but I definitely want folks to be able to come check you out online. So what are those?
Absolutely. I've got a WordPress site. The URL is bergodigital.com. Right now, it kind of just serves as my public resume and portfolio. Not a whole lot going on with it, but I do plan on adding content and my experiences as I continue to, as I continue on this path that I'm on. I have a LinkedIn account that's kind of going to be my main. I'm happy to connect with anyone, and I love hearing from everyone's experiences. I'm at that point in my life where I will never be too proud to turn down free advice. So,
Oh, that's a good man.
I'd be happy to connect with anyone on LinkedIn, happy to reach out. And I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me on this.
Oh, anytime, brother. I wish you well. I will talk to you soon. Thank you guys as well for joining us for another edition of ITN Live. This is James Hicks, and we out.